Welcome to the Will This Podcast. How you guys doing, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, we back upstairs in the office tonight. You know what I'm saying? We got a good show for you tonight. Turn my volume down a little bit. Yeah, we got a special show for you tonight. Good show. I think so. Show tonight is Wanna Be Intellectual Show. And we got a lot of book shares. A lot of book shares. But first of all, play a little music for you tonight because we're just feeling good about ourselves this evening. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's trap soul. You know, shit like this. Everybody asks if we have culture and all of that kind of old bullshit. We be like, everything you mimic, everything you think, everything you can even perceive, come from us. I will explain. Let me pause that. All right. I was just saying, I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good mood because of how many people are showing their intellectual prowess. See, this is not a show. I tell you, the Wilderness Podcast, we're not degradators, we're not dehumanizers, but what we are embracers because we learn together. We embrace each other. We appreciate each other here because we practice a great amount of humility here. Because when you practice a little humility, you can appreciate, the beauty of what other people have to offer, especially when it ignites your cause and ignites you. It motivates you and inspires you. Yeah, to be what? Be a better version of you. But in order to do that, you got to get to know you. So, of course, this is a global show. I like to connect with people globally. I hope you understand. You should appreciate that. So, first book share tonight will be with J. Krishnamurti. My wife taught me about this fella. Then I learned more about him. I used to listen to the shout out to Zoe Williams. I used to listen to his show. And then when I saw him understand the importance of a soul of great intellectual value that graced this planet and lived, and that's great J. Krishnamurti. So yeah, let me read you about what this book is about. The awakening of intelligence. Intelligence comes into being when the brain discovers its fallibility, when it discovers what it is capable of and what it is not. Krishnamurti. So, the comprehensive record of Krishnamurti teaching in an excellent wide range, introducing a great philosopher's thought within general discussions of conflicts, fear, violence, religion, experience, self-knowledge, and intelligence. Krishnamurti examines specific issues such as roles of the teacher in traditions, the need of awareness of cosmic consciousness, the problem of good and evil, and traditional vendetta methods for helping for, different levels of seekers. Krishnamurti discovers the theme of Jacob Needleman, Alan Nadi, and Swami Venkatasananda, among others. The awakening of intelligence is the indispensable for all those intended to fully understand of Krishnamurti and his teachings. J. Krishnamurti, born in 1895 to 1986, I was 6 years old when he passed away, was a world renowned spiritual leader who, for more than 50 years, shared his message with people of all ages, races, and backgrounds. He wrote many books, including First and Last Freedom, Freedom from the Known, The Last Talks at Sinai in 1985. So let's get into a little of Krishnamurti. I got a few pages marked out. The Awakening of Intelligence. Needleman. I can imagine that. Hold on. Let me start somewhere. Uh, let me start where we can comprehend the conversation. Can one say that all of them there are differences? Thousand devices. There is one Buddha. Krishnamurti. But that is not my concern, sir. If we say it is leads to such deception, no, Needleman, then let me ask you this. We know that without hard work, the body may get ill. And this work is what we can call effort. Is there another effort for what we might call the spirit? You speak against effort, but we do not the growth of well-being of all sides of man demanding something like hard work of one sort of another. Krishnamurti, I wonder what you mean by hard work. Physical hard work? Needleman. That's what we usually mean by hard work or going against desires. Krishnamurti, you see, there you are. Our conditioning, our culture is built around, is going against, erecting a wall of resistance. So when we say hard work, what do you mean? Laziness? We have to make an effort about anything. Why? Needleman. Because I wish for something. Krishnamurti. No. Why is there this code of effort? We have I to make effort to reach God, enlightenment, true. Needleman. There are many possible answers, but I can only answer for myself. Krishnamurti. It may be just there, only I don't know how to look. Needleman. But when, but then there must be an obstacle. Krishnamurti. How to look? It may be just around the corner, under the flower. It may be anywhere. So first, I have to learn to look, not make an effort to look. I must find out what it means to look. Needleman, yes, but don't you admit that there may be a resistance to that looking? Krishnamurti. Then don't bother to look. If somebody comes along and says, I don't want to look, how are you going to force him to look? Needleman, no, I'm speaking about myself now. I want to look. Krishnamurti, if you want to look, what do you mean by looking? You must find out what it means to look before you make an effort to look. Right, sir? Needleman. That would be, to me, an effort. Krishnamurti. No. So the reason why I explain this to you is because Needleman missed the point collectively and completely. What Krishnamurti was explaining to him is sometimes you have to be still and look within. Effort is not always requiring for you to do all of these things. Sometimes you have to look within. That's a very satisfying moment to know that here on the Will This podcast, I make an effort to explain that to you. And I value you so much that I implore you to look within. When you look within, you have a greater advantage for yourself to succeed, not against others, because the goal is never to be challenging yourself against others in the first place. You see how many wars that cause. You see that ideological perspective that Europeans, when they say, oh, there's an opportunity available, I'm going to take it for myself. That's not a global mindset because you're whole fixated on dominating power, control, and force. But you're using force if you had the capability of not taking and understanding how to say, hey, we can eat instead of let me get for myself and store up just for me, it becomes too individualistic. Hmm. So you raise yourself as an outsider from inception because of your nature. You know that the lands that you conquer, you feel the need to always look for self first, and you perceive that as looking within. You can't possibly do that. Not, oh, let me get Jordan straight. You can't possibly do that without acknowledging the the people that you have taken from and why you have taken from them and the purpose behind you taking from them and why your ancestors and why you have been gifted with the ability to lose control of even your own self. It's a whole lot of Europeans don't know where they come from because all they know is where they are. So, looking within purely, you would have to address what your nature is. Where are you from in Europe? Did your parents tell you? Or did they just lie to you and say, yeah, we took this land as ours and that's it now? Not knowing or even understanding that the people that you taking land from gave the world, gave the world its first spiritual systems, way of food and eating and civilization. Do you understand this was the old world and what people existed and learned from here? This was a legendary. This was Atlantis. Yeah. This was Jerusalem. Okay. Let me explain. Black Spark, White Fire. Okay. Written by Richard Poe. So let me explain something to you, non understood people that want to think that Europeans were so uh they built anything. They didn't build anything. They took or they were gifted everything. So let me explain. The year was 1992. The video of Michael Jackson's Remember the Time. Jackson had pulled out of the pulled. Oh, I read this to you before. I've always came back to this. Let me go a little further. When Egypt ruled the waves, the Pax, ancient Egyptian Tiaka. The Pack. Here we go. Chapter 22. Let's see if you can see this. I hope the camera show up. It's very bright. Hold on, let me just read it for you. Okay. Since they want to give references to the Greek culture, they can't. But anyway, let's prove them wrong instantly. According to Greek legend, Erech, Erechtheus was the fourth king of Athens. He was the king who saved the city from famine by obtaining large ships by Egyptian grain, or so claimed certain Egyptian priestess. Diodorus of Sicily recorded their testimony as follows. Erechtheus was by birth an Egyptian. Once, when there was a great drought, when extended over particularly all of the inhabited earth except Egypt, Erechtheus, through his racial connections, which Egypt brought from the Athenians, a great supply of grain. And in return, there was those enjoyed the aim made by benefactor king. After he had secured the throne, he instituted the initiatory rites of Demeter of Eleusis and established a mysterious transforming their rituals from Egypt, and the Athenians, or a part, agreed that it was in the region of Erytheus when a lack of rain had wiped out the crops that Demeter came to them when the gifts of grain with the gifts of grain. How closely does the legend fit the factor that when Greece during the late Bronze Age quietly closed? In fact, there is no question that Greece imported large quantities of the Egyptian grain during the classical times. The evidence is very good that there's also that the same in earlier days when the Erectheas lived. If we can trust the dates given in the Paran marble of broken marble, Stella, Stela, originally set up on a Greek island of Pharos around 360, around 263 BC. That gives the history of Greeks since legendary times. Erectheus reigned sometime around 1408, 1408 BC during the called Mycenaean period in Greek, 15, 1565 to 1200 BC. Like theirs, descendants in classical times, the Mycenaeans appear to have devoted most of their farmland to olives and grapes and relatively little of wheat, and is therefore among inevitable that there would have suffered periodically from the same sort of grain shortages that plagued in classical Greeks. We know that the classical Greeks paid for Egyptian grain with silver from their mines. The Mycenaeans also mined silver, and an archaeologist had found large quantities of Greek silver in Egyptian going all the way back to the 11th dynasty in 2040 through 1991 BC. Curiously, the Greek word wheat, cetos, does also arrive to be European in origin. Scholars have tried to trace the derivation of Assyria or Mesopotamia, but Burnell suggested that it is most likely that it evolved in the Egyptian SWT, meaning grain. That was a hieroglyphic. This would put cetos in the same class of the well-known word that entered the Greek language. Their goods of Egypt, which such as papyrus, ebinos, ebony, kami, gum, kiki, castor oil, syndion, fine tissue, anise, and so on. If Diodorus accounted of correct, Erectheus must have been a man of some influence in Athens even before he became the king. Why would such a prominent Egyptian have been living in Greece at a time? It may have been at the same reason by upper class Englishmen lived in 19th century India. If Erectheus did live around the traditional dates of 1408 BC, that would place him smack in the middle of the period of Martin Burnell called the Pax Egyptiaca, the Egyptian peace, a time in Egypt seemed to have exerted political control over Aegean world. So that would mean that every single fabric of Greece existed upon ancient Kemetic culture. Check this book out. Martin Burnell, Black Spark, White Fire. Did Africa explore civilized ancient Europe? They are the progenitors of it. So I'll read more of this book at another time, but I hope you enjoyed that. I have other things for you as well. Because this is You Want to Be an Intellectual show, right? You want to be an intellectual. Are you? You have to ask yourself those questions. All right. I've shared this book by Gloria Farley, The Old World Records of Ancient America. Yeah, I've showed this before. I've shared this with you before in plain sight. Also, shout out to my brother Sean Stafford. And shout out to my family in Ohio, because this book allowed me to understand and know so much about my ancient Kemetic heritage in Ohio, the Ohio River valleys, also in Cincinnati and in Cleveland and all up and through there, because my people are also the Indians, the ancient indigenous people out of Kentucky. and they settled in Madisonville. My grandmama Katie Willis raised 4 generations. Shout out and all praises to the God's University and ancestors to my cousin, my great cousin, Alfred, Alfred, aka Fonnie Willis. Shout out, I love you, cuz. I appreciate you. Love you, Pops. I know my Pops is going through something right now. And my family is going through something right now. So shout out to my Cincinnati family, also my Pensacola family. We love our family, so we always give reverence and appreciation and peace to our family members. We love them so much. Yes, we do. And if someone has passed on my mother's side, it's same thing goes. You know, we're people of the same ilk. So let's get to the in plain sight. All right, we're gonna get to this, and I'm excited about the Trail of Egyptians. Let me show you this. Well, let me show you what it looked like. Trail of Egyptians. Okay, Trail of Egyptians. Ooh. Yeah, let me show you something. Let me show you something now. We're talking about Tuscaloosa, Oklahoma. We're talking about Tulsa, Oklahoma here, but we're gonna go back over here real quick. We're gonna do this right quick. Hold on. I wanted to show you that. I wanted to show you that. But I want to get to the Anubis Caves. All right, here we go. The plea for the Anubis Caves. My plan was to keep the location of Anubis Caves secret until they could protect by publishing by the Anubis Caves project team in 1985. However, I was 5 years old. However, the plan did not succeed. The caves were now very vulnerable, and the only vandalism, but not only to vandalism, but to commercialism. Vandalism occurred in 1982, 1988, 1992. Although the people who carved the dates in the words of heavily chalked petroglyphs surely did not know that they were obliterating ancient world history. Dozens, perhaps hundreds, of unauthorized people who have been taken to the site, but not by me. Some, of course, were highly respected and needed like Dr. Robert T. Myers of the Catholic University of America, Washington, D.C., and a Celtic expert who confirmed the authenticity of the orgame writing when he visited the Anubis Caves. Meyer died in October 1987. Another welcome visitor was Dr. David H. Kelly of the Department of Archaeology, University of Alberta. He is not only very knowledgeable, but fair in his assessments. It is reported that James Woodall and Kelly pointed out the fact that the equinox light showed was looking for the fail of the interpreted line of orgame referring to the equinox. He also pointed out the repeating line of the stroke sequences at different sites, indicating writings, especially when the words could not be read. Many of other visitors still being taken to the caves without the knowledge of consent of a landowner or only curious onlookers who mean no harm, but some of the freelancers, writers, commercial artists, and television shows reporters who cannot be depended on not only reveal the location of the site, but it is difficult to understand the motives of the guys of apparently believing that publicity is more important than protection. See, what I'm explaining is you call foreigners, do not respect the beautiful lands of the gods of my ancestors. That's what this is explaining to you. So they call this a possibility portrait of Jesus, but I call it Heru. I told you Heru was from these lands. You understand? And that's in plain sight. They told you Jerusalem. Jaden is this Jerusalem. So they went to extreme measures to extract our presence in our own land in plain sight. So, let me give you the reading. In the same cave with the Colorado cliffside, which contains the Eye of Bell, previously discussed in this chapter, there are nine. There is a 9 to 12-foot carving panel containing a bewildered array of orgam, writings, geometric patterns, anthropomorphisms, and other motifs. Given only 5 minutes for tracing by my guide during the first visit, my decision was to record the 17-inch anthropomorphic figure and 6-12 the plus and 3 inches the motif and an adjusting. So check this out. Just want to show you. Okay. I'll give you more about this wonderful book. Yes, indeed. I have to show you. This book, The Heavenly Rhinestone, The Heavenly, I bought this book, but check this out. This is autographed by the author. Okay. January 1990, Independent Oklahoma Tourism Recreation Department Division. So you see, I have this that's autographed by this lady. Okay. And she's showing you. Okay. This is very fragile. The map of even the Viking exploration, Greenland, Mississippi River. You see, they had to meet the mound builders here. Yes, indeed. So they even got the dragon ship here. Let me show you this: the Galley of the Sun. Yeah, we got the whole. We got so much information. That's enough of that book, okay? We got in plain sight. This is the old world records in ancient America. See, some people don't even understand that there is a such thing as an ancient America. I got myself out of balance. So let me get Jordan right and everything. Got my camera messed up. That's what it is. Hold on, let me get you right. All right, let me straighten that out. Cool. All right, damn. It's all right. We're gonna be all right, folks. We're gonna be all right. And then we got when I tell you, great book here. The Olmec World. See, this is an extremely expensive book, but it has extremely wonderful details of pure art of the ancient American culture. Yeah. Yeah, you hear so much about Africa, you don't know it's very ancient. The blacks here are ancient too. That's my whole point. You see these? Look at these. Look at this. Look at these. Look at this artwork. Oh yeah. See, sometimes small wing figures. Check this out, y'all. I want to show you something like this. Check it out. Check this out. This is some dope stuff. Check this out. I tell you, I just showed you the proof, man. I just showed you the proof. I have no reason to, you know. Oh man, this shows every. This is check this out. Hey, the shamanism transformation on my card. Shamanism transformation. Let me show you this right here. The world is much, much, much more connected, guys, than we could have ever imagined. So here on the Will List podcast, we just like to show you proof. Again, I love this book. It's an amazing book as well. Black Indians is the book that gives us a much usable, nearly lost, invaluable history that makes contemporary comprehension of all alliances between and among peoples possible. A guide to the real America. Let me show you who John Horsey is, the Seminole and Wildcat. Let me show you. And remember, I'll be showing you some of these people are my ancestors now. They are my ancestors. Let me show you this. Maroon governor and leaders. Let me show you this right here. Let me read this to you right here. Maroon governments and leaders, maroon settlers were an effort to be to where people who have once lived free before the 1700s. Most maroon leaders were like their fellows. Some of them African born. Some of these colonialists built dynasties in Africa, built dynasties on African models that lasted for generations and had royal courts and cabinets, princes and princesses. But in the beginning of the 18th century, Maroons figured they were cut from a different mold. They were born in the Americas, often of black Indian stock. Their skills were in dealing with European in battle and at the negotiating table. They preferred to be known as the government, as a governor or commander, rather than king or queen. Most leaders still had a familiarity with their African traditions and customs. Some women played a crucial role in the Maroon life, and they were considered for leadership. Philippia, Maria, Arana, an African, ruled a thriving colony in Amazonia, Brazil. Her daring foray against the Portuguese armies set against her villages not only defeated them, but conceived the enemy in a wiser to negotiate. They tried to defeat her. At the bargaining table, Arana won her people's liberty and sovereignty. In Pachaha, Brazil, Portuguese discovered Malaya, Indian, and an African living under the rule of another African woman. Leading a maroon colony took a rare combination of wisdom, toughness, and skill. The ruler had to provide for a strong defense, kept spirits high despite threats, and developed a rich and satisfying economic life for members. Courts and other meanings of administering justice as it's to be placed and considered fair because of their threats from outside, enforcement of rules, and often harsh swifts on vital matters such as murder, robbery, adultery, or desertion. The punishment was death, often in public. So, do you understand? Even when you say you have many of these Europeans or Portuguese or saw all these Europeans, do you understand? Africans was on ship doing damage, and they had the complexion to do more damage or even add help and assist and be unified with color. But that was that's looking nowadays as if these Africans thought they just got here nowadays. See, the Africans that were here before and that came here before knew that there were Africans here, and that gave them an advantage, but they were good and evil. That's why we know we act like these times are new. No, they are not. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. The whole world shares DNA. This is proof. That's what you don't like. You don't like the proof, the specifics, and the intricacies of the stories. Can you read? That's why I got to read for you. In some aspects, some people, hey, I don't mind doing so. So that's not a push or a threat. Some people may not own this book. So I don't mind doing so. It's just it's part of the game. It's part of the podcast. Let me show you this image right here and explain to you what was happening. Let me explain here. By the Palmers was half a mile long, with streets 6 feet wide, and had homes, churches, and shops, as well as kept lands, produced cereals and other crops, irrigated African styles with streams, and boating courts that carried out justice of the thousands of cities, and was ruled over by Gangazumba. Gangazumba combined an Angolan African word for great with a Tupi Indian word for ruler. Christianity was common practice, including elaborate marriages and baptism ceremonies that drew large crowds. In 1657, life in the Palmares was still relatively peaceful, but the new rule of Brazil, the Portuguese, decided it must be destroyed. A foreign expedition was launched about every 15 months, obliterating Republic Palmares. Each was beaten back with heavy losses on both sides. Palmares was determined, armed, and forced with 3 huge surrounding walls. Cost many of foreign commanders to govern his post or his life. Men in splendid uniforms in turn fled back Rio de Janeiro or Lisbon, revealed an abundant war they could not win. The 17th century Portuguese soldier wrote that their failures, the army, best fighters, and most experienced leaders were at once employed for this purpose with immense effort and suffering, but very little was achieved. So, as I said before, you have to understand how mobile people are. And a lot of the lighter skin, a lighter tone races today don't understand this kind of history. You don't even understand how lesser in numbers that you are just because you're on TV. See, all of those propagandized perspectives, you're not the global majority at all. The behaviors have to change. And you have to understand some people that carry that lighter complexion as well may not be what you see. And as you know, mentally, people that carry this complexion, not concerned with them, are gone anyway. Let's heal where we can heal and how we can heal because we know history and we know a way forward. That's the show today. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And go to the Wilderness Podcast, download the app. You can actually purchase on the app. All you got to do is go, hey, give me an invite. Go to the wilderness.podcast.com. Go to the app, check on it, download the app. It's through Squares, and you'll be able to purchase the merch. We just tested it out today. It was great. It was a wonderful situation, and it was good stuff. As I don't sell you nothing but what I create, my products and things of that nature, and I'm running a few little tests. So if y'all can participate, do so. Try to purchase some merch. That'd be great. Go to the Wilderness Podcast, download the app, send me a request to become a part of the site, and guess what? you'll be able to purchase your merch. You can also just go on a computer and purchase as well. Yeah, you can do that. I'm gonna add pay buttons. The site will be under construction as well because there's some things that I need to get done. Just keep watching the show. Keep being excited about watching the show. I'm gonna keep giving you good information as if I ain't got no sense. No, I'm just joking. Now, I love you guys about the show. I appreciate you. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. I love you. I thank you, and I'm humble from your presence and your likeness. Thank you so much. That's the show tonight. And remember, it's my favorite part of the show, right? You know what it is. You already know. The wheel is yours. Right back at you, pimpin'. Hey, I'll be back.